Today we're on day number 1533, and we are joined by Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Movement, which is another lobby group which has been advocating and which is still advocating for the removal of sanctions. And we are saying as Broad Alliance Against Sanctions and Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Movement, the fight that we're fighting is one, and we'll work together as anti-sanctions lobby groups and help each other wherever necessary so that we win this fight, because united we stand and divided we fall. We are glad that we advocated for the patriotic bill, both Baz and Zasim. We both advocated for the bill, and the bill is sailed through Parliament, and we are glad that it's an achievement for the two organizations, and we're hoping that in future we can have greater achievements together as anti-sanctions movements. They are joining us. We filed a court application against the United States, and Zasim is joining us as friends of the court, and we are glad that we are going to be working with them from there onwards, because as I said before, that united we stand and divided we fall. So that is why we are here today. Firstly, we requested that they respond to us in writing form why they haven't removed sanctions despite the various engagements that we have done as an organization, and despite the many petitions that we have given them. They haven't responded to us in writing. And then secondly, we are seeking for reparations. We're saying the country has been under sanctions for the past 23 years. We've suffered a lot of losses economically, socially, politically, and in every aspect of our lives. And we're saying the Americans should pay for those reparations, because the United Nations rapporteur declared that those sanctions are illegal and are unjustified. So if they are illegal and they are unjustified, we equate them to a genocide. And I'm sure the Americans have to be answerable. If the same rule of law which they preach every day still imply to them, then they should find it compassionate to answer to us through the courts of law and to pay those reparations to the country of Zimbabwe.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, the economic meltdown that we're seeing right now is because of the economic sanctions, but not only because of the economic sanctions, but the activities that are undertaken to ensure that sanctions work. So I think you've seen recently there was a gold mafia documentary that was produced, because they're seeing that we're using our gold to bust the sanctions, and they don't want that gold to be used to bust sanctions. Recently you saw in South Africa there was an attempt to deport our ZBC workers, who are the biggest remitters of foreign currency into the country, because remittances have become our biggest foreign currency earner, because human talent is our biggest export. We had to fight that as well, because we believe that the United States is behind all this sabotage, trying to sabotage our activities to bust these sanctions. And so with the gold mafia coming out, a lot of the gold buyers who are licensed, a lot of the gold sellers who are licensed, have not been undertaking the activities that they've been taking that gave us the record-breaking levels last year. So it is definitely sanctions and the activities associated with trying to maintain those sanctions that works. Now you asked, what do we have to do to make these sanctions go away? I think Baz has already started the legal action that they've started in Zimbabwe. We started legal action in South Africa. And as you can see, there's a collaboration that is happening now. We have gone after the implementers of the sanctions in the biggest trading country with Zimbabwe, South Africa. Their banks have been instituting these illegal sanctions, as she said, and by so doing, they are actually breaking international law. They have also been implementing these sanctions without trial. They don't try the people who they block from their banking system. They don't try the institutions that they cut corresponding banking relationships with. So that in its own way is over-compliance, which the special rapporteur said is illegal. And every nation is enjoined to actually create laws to stop over-compliance. She raised the issue of reparations. What many people don't understand is it's just not rhetoric. The special rapporteur has got a guiding principle that is called the 3413 resolution that was made by the UN Human Rights Council. That resolution says, first of all, the implementation of illegal sanctions or unilateral sanctions is illegal. And then the enforcement or the imposition of those sanctions is also illegal. And they said that the reason why the UN Human Rights Council has created the Special Rapporteur's Office is to measure the negative impact of sanctions, to measure the cost it has on human rights, and to seek reparations damages and restitution for those that have been hurt by those sanctions. So I'm happy that my sister has raised that point. And they are seeking a declaratory order, first of all, for the Zimbabwean courts to say that the sanctions are illegal. Because all along, for 22 years, we've had these sanctions. We have not had anybody declaring them illegal. Yet, the government of the United States, the EU, and UK, Australia, and Canada, they all created laws in their own countries. America actually instituted national emergencies on Zimbabwe 3 times. And every country that they have imposed national emergencies more than twice, there's ended up being a conflict, an invasion, or some form of war, and we don't want that in Zimbabwe. Yesterday she said something interesting to me. She said, we don't want bloodshed in this country. That's why we are risking staying here. There's snakes, anything can happen here. But we are here to try and protect life, to try and stop bloodshed in this country, because we know that sanctions, if left alone, will become another Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, that will cause bloodshed and conflict, and we don't want that in this country. So that's why we've decided to say, we don't have many weapons to fight, but we know that what they are doing is illegal according to their own laws. They created the UN, not us. They created the World Trade Organization, not us. They created the Vienna Conventions. So we are just taking them and making them accountable to the laws that they made. And we've come to say unity is how we achieve the best results. And the one thing that the Westerners hate the most is the fear that we will unite. It's the fear that the Nehanders, the Kaguis, will unite to start fighting this war and this thing that is happening. So I am proud that they have been camping out here for
1,533 days.
1,530 days. That's dedication. It's a symbol to the Americans to say this is our country, and you are persecuting mothers, fathers, orphans, widows, disabled people, the most vulnerable people of our society. And that is why they've taken this symbolism of camping out here to say these people are suffering because of you. And what is sad for me is that the country that we see behind us, it's not even a legitimate country. It's a colonizer. It is a successful Rhodesia. It is a successful apartheid South Africa, because they were able to eliminate the American Indians. They were able to eliminate the native peoples of the land where they come from. And then today, such an illegal existence, this apartheid nation wants to tell the world about human rights. They've just killed 3 million women and children in the Middle East for their oil, for their resources. They've murdered them and bombed them based on lies that started as sanctions. They started by sanctioning Iraq. They started by sanctioning Syria. They sanctioned Libya. And when those countries started having problems and conflict, guess what? They then came to intervene. The very same Rhodesians. And remember, we fought them during our liberation struggle. The people who in the liberation struggle will tell you that they deployed 13,000 mercenaries from America, Australia, Canada, and so forth, to come and stop us from getting our independence. Now we've got our independence and want to give life to that independence. Guess what? They're the same people that want to stop us from achieving that. But we are the new level of liberation fighter. And I want to say to other Zimbabweans, join the struggle. The same way our parents left to go to the bush. They started off as 2 people, 3 people. They ended up 60,000 people in the bush fighting. While the ones who remained here were feeding them. There were Mujibas who were here that were checking out. They were doing the reconnaissance. They were hiding these guerrilla fighters. They were the water in which the fish were swimming. We are saying now we need the water in which the fish are swimming. Right now with ZASAB, we are outside fighting in the diaspora, fighting in South Africa where the psychological warfare is happening through media. They are here. They are the Mujibas. They are the comrades who are inside the country fighting the war with legal weapons. And I want to say that we are happy to join hands with them and to be friends of the court to make sure that we at least get legal ruling. Why do we need legal ruling is that when we have political negotiations like Lancaster, we have political re-engagements, they can honor them and then one day they decide not to honor them. But when we've got a legal ruling, which is what we want from the courts in Zimbabwe and South Africa, all of a sudden we've got something binding. We've got rule of law that they can't just ignore. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.